Warning: this story contains intense themes of revenge, loss, and redemption. Viewer discretion advised. They called her the Ghost of Titan 7, but Captain Elena Vasquez had once been something far more dangerous, a mother. The mining colony on Titan 7 wasn't supposed to matter to anyone. 3,000 settlers, mostly families, extracting rare earth minerals from a moon so far from civilization that supply ships came only twice a year. Elena had chosen it deliberately, a quiet place to raise her daughter Maya, far from the corporate wars that had consumed the inner systems. She should have known peace never lasts. The attack came on Maya's 8th birthday. Elena was in the command center reviewing quarterly reports when the proximity alarm screamed to life. Through the viewport, she watched sleek black ships emerge from hyperspace, no identification codes, no warning signals, just predators materializing from the void. "Mom, look at my cake." Maya's voice crackled through the comm from their hab unit, sweet and innocent, unaware that death had come calling. Elena's fingers flew across the console, activating emergency protocols. The colony's defenses were pathetic, a few mining lasers and an ancient shield generator that hadn't been updated in decades. Against military-grade assault ships, they might as well have been throwing rocks. "All civilians to emergency shelters," she broadcast, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. "This is not a drill." The first missile struck the power station. Lights flickered and died across the colony as secondary explosions rippled through the mining complex. Elena abandoned the command center, racing through darkened corridors toward the residential sector, toward Maya. She never made it. The blast wave from the habitat destruction threw her against a bulkhead so hard her vision went white. When consciousness returned, Elena tasted blood and heard only silence, the terrible, absolute silence of vacuum where air used to be. The residential sector was gone. Just twisted metal and debris floating in space where 300 families had lived, where Maya had been singing happy birthday to herself. Elena Vasquez died that day on Titan 7. What crawled from the wreckage was something else entirely. 6 months later, Kepler Station, the cantina, was exactly the kind of place where information flowed like cheap alcohol, dark, crowded, and full of people who asked no questions. Elena sat in a corner booth, her scarred face hidden beneath a hood, nursing a drink she hadn't touched. Across the room, Marcus Chen was holding court at the bar, regaling a group of mercenaries with stories of his latest acquisition. Elena's enhanced hearing, a gift from the cybernetic surgeon who'd rebuilt her shattered body, caught every word. "The Titan 7 job was beautiful," Chen laughed, his gold teeth gleaming. "Clean sweep, no witnesses, and enough rare earth to fund our operations for years. Best part? The colonies are so isolated, by the time anyone investigates, the evidence is space dust." Elena's artificial hand tightened around her glass until hairline cracks appeared. Chen was just a middleman, she knew, one of dozens who fed information to the Crimson Syndicate. But he'd been there. He'd watched children die and counted it as profit. "Problem is," Chen continued, words getting around that someone's hunting syndicate operations. 3 of our crews have gone dark in the past month. Bodies found floating in space, all bearing the same calling card." He pulled out a hollow pad, displaying crime scene photos. Elena's lips curved in what might have been a smile. Each corpse bore the same mark carved into their forehead, a small star surrounded by 7 lines, the symbol of Titan 7 colony. "Whoever's doing this is good," one of the mercenaries said. "Military training, expensive gear. The kind of hunter who doesn't leave loose ends." Elena stood slowly, her movement fluid despite the mechanical components that had replaced most of her left side. She approached the bar with predatory grace, her footsteps silent on the metal decking. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice rough from vocal cord damage. "I couldn't help but overhear. This hunter you mentioned, do you know what they want?" Chen turned, his eyes automatically assessing her as a potential threat and finding her wanting. The scarred woman was clearly augmented, probably a disabled veteran scraping by on the station's charity. "Harmless. Justice, I suppose," he shrugged. Some bleeding heart who thinks the outer colonies matter. But the syndicate's got resources. We'll find this ghost and put them down like any other mad dog. Justice, Elena repeated, tasting the word. An interesting concept. Tell me, Mr. Chen, do you believe in ghosts? Something in her tone made him pause. His hand drifted toward the plasma pistol at his hip, but Elena was faster. Her augmented reflexes, calibrated for zero-G combat, moved with inhuman precision. The monofilament blade that extended from her wrist sliced through his throat before he could draw breath to scream. Chen collapsed, clutching his neck as blood pooled on the cantina floor. The other patrons scrambled for exits, but Elena had already sealed the doors. In the sudden silence, only her voice remained. I am Justice, she whispered to Chen's dying eyes. I am the mother you made childless. I am the ghost of every family you helped murder. She carved the 7-pointed star into his forehead with surgical precision. And I am nowhere near finished. 3 weeks later, aboard the Crimson Syndicate flagship, Bloodhawk, Syndicate boss Viktor Kozlov stood before the tactical display in his private war room, his scarred face illuminated by the red glow of enemy positions. Around him, his most trusted lieutenants shifted nervously, hardened killers reduced to frightened children by reports that should have been impossible. 17 operations compromised, reported his intelligence chief, a pale woman named Vera whose cybernetic eyes flickered with data streams. 43 operatives dead. Every hit bears the same signature, precise, professional, and personal. It's one person, growled Kozlov, his augmented voice box giving his words a mechanical rasp. One broken woman with delusions of righteousness. How is she staying ahead of us? She knows us, boss, said Marcus Reeves, Kozlov's chief enforcer. Knows our protocols, our safe houses, our contact networks. This isn't random revenge, it's systematic extermination. The holographic display shifted, showing a timeline of attacks. Each strike had been perfectly timed to maximum damage with minimal exposure. Supply convoys ambushed in deep space. Communications relays sabotaged at critical moments. Key personnel eliminated in ways that sent messages to everyone else. Show me the footage again, Kozlov commanded. The display flickered to security camera footage from a syndicate processing station. The timestamp showed it was 3 days old. Elena Vasquez moved through the facility like death itself, fluid, relentless, unstoppable. Her augmented body shrugged off plasma fire while her weapons carved through armed guards with surgical precision. But it wasn't the violence that made Kozlov's subordinates flinch. It was her face. Even distorted by scars and cybernetic implants, Elena's expression remained perfectly calm. She wasn't angry. She wasn't emotional. She was simply, working. She's not just killing us, Vera whispered. She's studying us. Learning. Every attack teaches her more about our operations. Then we make her stop learning, Kozlov snarled. He activated a secure channel. Bring me the files on Titan 7. Every detail. If this ghost wants to play games with the past, let's give her what she's really looking for. The transmission that came through made the room fall silent. Kozlov's contacts in the outer rim had done their research, and what they'd found was worse than anyone expected. Elena Vasquez hadn't just been a colony administrator. She'd been Captain Elena Vasquez, former Special Operations, decorated veteran of the Sector Wars, retired early to civilian life after her husband's death. The military records painted a picture of a soldier who'd specialized in deep reconnaissance and targeted elimination, the kind of operative who could infiltrate enemy territory and dismantle entire command structures single-handedly. She's not seeking justice, Reeves said, his voice hollow with realization. She's conducting a military campaign. We're not dealing with a grieving mother. We're at war with a professional killer who has nothing left to lose. Kozlov stared at Elena's service record, his augmented heart rate climbing as he processed the implications. 47 confirmed kills during her active service. Expert in zero-G combat, demolitions, and psychological warfare. Commendations for actions so classified they were still redacted. How many of our people know about Titan 7? He asked quietly. Everyone in the inner circle, Vera replied. The operation was too big to keep completely quiet. Then she's coming for all of us. Kozlov turned to face his lieutenants, decision crystallizing in his cybernetic mind. We don't run. We don't hide. We bring her to us on our terms. He activated the ship's communication array, broadcasting on all frequencies. Elena Vasquez, his voice echoed through space, picked up by every listening post and relay station in the sector. I know you're listening. You want the man responsible for Titan 7? I'm Viktor Kozlov, and I gave the order. Your daughter died because I needed those minerals, and I'd do it again without hesitation. His fingers danced over the controls, uploading files to the public network. Security footage from Titan 7. Audio recordings of planning sessions. Even personal communications where he joked about pest control in the outer colonies. You've killed my people, destroyed my operations, cost me millions of credits. So here's my counter-offer, meet me at the coordinates I'm transmitting. Come alone, and I'll tell you exactly how your little girl died. Come with backup, and I'll broadcast the footage of her final moments across every network in human space. The transmission ended, leaving the war room in tense silence. Boss, Reeves said carefully, she's going to come. And when she does? When she does, Kozlov interrupted, we'll be ready. Alert all fleet elements. Full defensive positions around the coordinates. Every weapon, every ship, every advantage we can bring to bear. He stared at Elena's photograph, studying the face of the woman who'd become his personal nightmare. Let's see how good the ghost of Titan 7 really is. The debris field of Kepler 442, Elena's ship, a modified stealth corvette she'd christened Maya's Tears, drifted silently through the asteroid field that had once been a small moon. The coordinates Kozlov had provided led here, a perfect killing ground where sensor readings would be confused by metallic debris and gravitational anomalies. She'd expected a trap. She'd counted on it. Through her ship's enhanced sensors, Elena catalogued the enemy positions, 3 heavy cruisers, 2 destroyer escorts, and a support carrier hiding behind the largest asteroid cluster. Kozlov's flagship, Bloodhawk, held position at the center of the formation, its weapons powered but not yet locked onto her position. Impressive, she murmured, her augmented fingers dancing over the control interface. Nearly 200 crew members, enough firepower to sterilize a small planet. He's taking me seriously. The communication array crackled to life. Elena Vasquez, Kozlov's voice filled her cockpit, I'm almost disappointed. I expected someone more, dramatic. You look like just another broken soldier playing at heroics. Elena activated her own transmitter, her voice calm and steady. I'm not here for drama, Victor. I'm here to finish what you started. What I started? Kozlov laughed, the sound harsh and mechanical. I started a business transaction. You started a war. Do you know how many people have died because of your little revenge quest? How many families you've torn apart? I know exactly, Elena replied. 43 syndicate operatives, all of whom participated directly in colony raids. Each one died clean, no collateral damage, no innocent casualties. Can you say the same about Titan 7? The channel remained open, broadcasting their conversation to every ship in the fleet. Elena could hear the subtle shifts in comm chatter, the way crew voices tightened when she spoke Maya's name. Your daughter was acceptable losses, Kozlov said coldly. Civilian casualties are inevitable in any large-scale operation. If you'd wanted to keep her safe, you shouldn't have hidden in a valuable mining colony. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the familiar cold rage settle into her augmented heart. Through her enhanced hearing, she caught fragments of conversation from the enemy ships, nervous whispers, doubt creeping into voices that had been confident moments before. Tell me about her final moments, Elena said softly. You promised me details. She was in the residential sector when the first missile hit, Kozlov replied, his voice taking on a cruel edge. Security footage shows her running toward the emergency shelters, calling for her mommy. She almost made it too, was just 20 meters from safety when the second wave hit. Elena's hand tightened on the control stick, her augmented grip leaving finger impressions in the metal. The blast wave threw her against a structural support, Kozlov continued. She was still alive when the hull breach started. Still conscious when the atmosphere vented. She died looking toward the command center, probably wondering why her mother wasn't coming to save her. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the background chatter from the syndicate ships had ceased. Thank you, Elena said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I needed to hear that. She activated her ship's weapons systems, and Maya's tears transformed from a sleek corvette into something far more deadly. Hidden panels retracted to reveal military-grade plasma cannons, torpedo tubes, and point defense systems. The hull itself shifted, ablative armor plates sliding into combat configuration. Did you really think, Elena continued, her voice growing stronger, that a mother would come to face her daughter's killer unprepared? The first torpedo launched before Kozlov could respond, its military-grade warhead seeking the carrier's reactor signature. The explosion lit up the asteroid field like a newborn star, vaporizing the support ship and its entire crew complement. All ships, open fire. Kozlov screamed into his communicator. Kill her. Kill her now. But Elena was already moving, her ship dancing between plasma bursts with inhuman precision. Her augmented reflexes, interfaced directly with the ship's navigation systems, allowed her to process and respond to threats faster than any human pilot. She'd spent 6 months preparing for this moment, studying syndicate fleet tactics, learning their weaknesses. Maya's tears wove through the crossfire like liquid mercury, each movement calculated to maximum advantage. Elena's targeting systems locked onto weak points, shield generators, weapon mounts, engine clusters. Her return fire was surgical, each shot designed to cripple rather than destroy. She wanted them alive for what came next. The destroyer, Crimson Blade, tried to ram her, its captain perhaps hoping to end the fight through sacrifice. Elena rolled her ship beneath its hull and fired upward, her plasma cannons carving through armor plating to reach the crew compartments. The ship's death scream echoed across all frequencies as atmosphere and lives vented into space. She's just one ship. Reeves' voice crackled over the tactical network. How is she doing this? Elena answered by putting 3 torpedoes into his heavy cruiser's engine section. The ship listed to starboard, its reactor scrammed and weapons offline. Through her enhanced sensors, she detected the crew abandoning ship in escape pods. She's playing with us, Vera whispered from the flagship's bridge. She could have killed us all by now. She's making a point. Elena's voice cut through their fear like a blade. The point, Miss Chen, is that every person who dies today chose to follow a man who murders children for profit. You've had 6 months to leave the syndicate, to find honest work, to build something other than fear. 2 more heavy cruisers converged on her position, their captains coordinating fire patterns to trap her in a crossfire. Elena smiled grimly and activated her ship's most illegal modification, a military-grade cloaking device acquired from black market arms dealers. Maya's tears vanished from every sensor screen simultaneously. Where is she? Kozlov demanded, his augmented voice rising to a shriek. Find her. She has to be somewhere. The answer came in the form of plasma fire erupting from what appeared to be empty space. Both cruisers took critical hits to their command sections, their bridges vaporized in seconds. The ships drifted helplessly, their crews trapped in engineering sections with no means of fighting back. Only the Bloodhawk remained operational, its massive bulk bristling with weapons that couldn't find a target. Elena decloaked directly in front of the flagship, her ship's nose almost touching its forward viewport. Through the transparent aluminum, she could see Kozlov's face, a mixture of rage and terror that satisfied something cold and broken in her heart. "Hello, Victor," she said softly. "Are you ready to meet your victims?" The docking clamps engaged before he could respond, Maya's tears attaching itself to the Bloodhawk's hull like a parasite. Elena's cutting tools began working immediately, carving through armor plating to reach the ship's interior. "All hands, repel boarders," Kozlov commanded, but his voice carried the hollow edge of a man who knew he was already dead. Elena came through the hull breach like an avenging spirit, her augmented body moving with inhuman grace through the ship's corridors. The Syndicate crew fought bravely, she had to give them that, but they were facing a professional soldier with nothing left to lose and 6 months of careful preparation. Her monofilament blades carved through body armor like paper. Her enhanced reflexes made their return fire seem slow and clumsy. But it wasn't the violence that broke their morale, it was the surgical precision with which she moved, the way she avoided killing anyone who dropped their weapons and surrendered. She wasn't a berserker. She was justice, and justice could show mercy. The survivors she left zip-tied in the cargo bay with working communicators and enough supplies to last until rescue arrived. The dead she left where they fell, each one marked with the 7-pointed star of Titan 7. Finally, only Kozlov remained. Elena found him in his private quarters, hunched over a bottle of expensive whiskey with a plasma pistol in his hand. His augmented body trembled with rage and fear, the mechanical components of his face twitching as internal systems struggled to maintain equilibrium. 15 years, he said without looking up. 15 years I've built this organization from nothing. Hundreds of millions in assets, shipping routes across 3 sectors, enough firepower to level colonies. He took a long drink, then finally met her eyes. And one broken woman destroyed it all in 6 months. Elena stood in the doorway, her scarred face impassive. The monofilament blade had retracted, but her augmented hand remained ready to deploy it in microseconds. "I didn't destroy anything," she replied. "I simply held you accountable for the choices you made." "Choices?" Kozlov laughed bitterly. "You think this was personal? Titan 7 was business, resources we needed, territory we had to control. Your daughter wasn't a target, she was just there. She was 8 years old. She was collateral damage in a war you didn't even know you were fighting." Kozlov raised the pistol, but his hand shook too badly to aim properly. "The outer colonies exist to feed the core worlds. The corporations mine them, the military protects them, and people like me clean up the messes. It's the natural order." Elena stepped into the room, her movement fluid and controlled. "There's nothing natural about murdering children. Isn't there?" Kozlov's augmented voice grew stronger as he found his footing in familiar territory, the philosophy that had justified a lifetime of violence. Evolution is based on competition. The strong consume the weak. Civilization is just a pretty word for organized predation. Is that what you told yourself when you gave the order? Kozlov's finger tightened on the trigger, but Elena was already moving. Her augmented reflexes carried her across the room before he could fire, her hand closing around his wrist with enough force to crush bone. The pistol clattered to the floor. "I told myself it was necessary," he gasped, his mechanical voice box sparking from the pressure on his throat. "I told myself they were expendable. I told myself a lot of things." Elena's grip loosened slightly, but her eyes never left his face. And now? For the first time since she'd entered the room, Kozlov looked genuinely human. The rage faded from his augmented features, replaced by something that might have been regret. "Now I remember that I used to have a daughter too," he whispered. "Before the augmentations, before the Syndicate. Before I forgot what it felt like to be human." Elena released him, stepping back to study his face. "What happened to her?" "Corporate raid when she was 12. I was just a mid-level exec then, trying to climb the ladder. They took her to pressure me into giving up trade secrets." His artificial hand clenched and unclenched rhythmically. "I chose my career over her life. Told myself it was about providing security, about building a future. Really, I was just a coward. Did they kill her? Kozlov nodded, unable to speak. For a moment, the ship's recycled air was the only sound between them. Her name was Sarah, he finally continued. She wanted to be a teacher. Used to read stories to the younger kids in our apartment complex. He looked up at Elena with eyes that had seen too much. I became a monster to forget that I'd failed her. And I've been running from that failure ever since. Elena felt something shift inside her chest, not forgiveness, but understanding. The cold rage that had sustained her for 6 months remained, but it was no longer the only thing she felt. Maya wanted to be a pilot, she said quietly. She used to pretend my command chair was a starship, flying rescue missions to save colonies from disasters. She believed people were worth saving. What would she think of what you've become? The question hit Elena like a physical blow. For the first time since Titan 7, she allowed herself to imagine Maya's reaction to the path she'd chosen. Her daughter had been gentle, empathetic, quick to forgive and slow to anger. She'd be disappointed, Elena admitted. She'd understand why I did it, but she wouldn't approve of the methods. Kozlov reached slowly for the bottle, his movements careful and deliberate. So what happens now? You've destroyed my organization, killed my people, cornered me in my own ship. Justice has been served, hasn't it? Elena considered the question, her augmented mind processing possibilities with mechanical precision. She could kill him, it would be simple, satisfying, final. She could leave him alive but broken, stripped of power and resources. She could turn him over to colonial authorities for trial. None of those options would bring Maya back. I want you to remember, she said finally. Every day for the rest of your life, I want you to remember the children you killed. Their names, their faces, their dreams that died with them. I want you to carry that weight until it breaks you. She turned toward the door, then paused. And I want you to do something about it. Kozlov looked up, confusion replacing resignation. What do you mean? You have resources. Contacts. Knowledge of how the syndicate operates. Use them. Elena's voice carried the authority of her former military rank. Hunt down the other colony raiders. Protect the settlements that can't protect themselves. Become the shield you should have been instead of the sword you chose to be. You're serious. Maya believed people could change. That even monsters could choose to be better. Elena's scarred face softened slightly. I'm giving you the chance she would have given you. Don't waste it. She walked to the door, then stopped one final time. If I hear that you've returned to your old ways, if even one innocent person dies because you've forgotten this conversation, I'll find you again. And next time, there won't be any talking. The door sealed behind her with mechanical finality. 6 months later, Deep Space Elena Vasquez sat in the captain's chair of her new ship, a proper military corvette she'd purchased with salvaged syndicate assets, reading intelligence reports from across the outer colonies. The past half-year had brought unexpected developments. Viktor Kozlov had kept his word. Using his knowledge of criminal networks and remaining loyal personnel, he'd systematically dismantled 3 major raiding organizations. The man who'd once terrorized the frontier had become its unlikely protector, his reputation as a reformed monster somehow more effective than any legal authority. The colonies were safer. Not safe, the galaxy was too vast and predatory for that, but safer. Families could sleep without fearing that morning would bring raiders from the void. Captain, her ship's AI announced, incoming priority transmission from Titan 7 Memorial Station. Elena's enhanced heart rate climbed slightly. The Memorial Station had been her first project after leaving Kozlov alive, a permanent installation built from the remains of the destroyed colony, serving as both monument and early warning system for the outer territories. Put it through. The holographic display activated, showing the face of Station Commander Torres, a former colonial marine who'd volunteered to oversee the memorial's operations. Captain Vasquez, Torres said, his voice carrying good news for once. I wanted to inform you personally. The Titan 7 Memorial Foundation has officially been recognized by the Colonial Defense Alliance. We're receiving full funding and military protection status. Elena nodded, feeling something that might have been satisfaction. How many colonies are participating in the Mutual Defense Network? 47 and growing. Your reputation has opened doors that diplomacy couldn't touch. When the Ghost of Titan 7 endorses a protection treaty, people listen. Any word on the deep space sensors? Operational across 3 sectors. If anything like the original raid gets organized, we'll have weeks of advance warning instead of minutes. Torres leaned forward slightly. There's something else. The psychologists working with survivor children have reported something interesting. Several of them have started drawing pictures of Maya's angel, a guardian figure who protects colonies from raiders. Elena felt her artificial throat constrict. Children's stories. Maybe. Or maybe it's something more. The way they describe her, she sounds like someone who chose to be a shield instead of a sword. After the transmission ended, Elena sat alone in her captain's chair, staring at the stars through the forward viewport. Somewhere out there, Viktor Kozlov was hunting raiders with the same methodical precision she'd once used to hunt him. Somewhere else, children slept safely because monsters had chosen to become protectors. It wasn't redemption, nothing could bring back the innocent dead. But it was something Maya would have approved of, broken people choosing to heal instead of hurt, strength used to protect rather than destroy. Elena's scarred hand touched the small locket around her neck, the only personal possession she'd recovered from Titan 7's wreckage. Inside was a photo of Maya on her 8th birthday, smiling with the kind of pure joy that only children possessed. I miss you, sweetheart, she whispered to the image. But I think I'm becoming someone you could be proud of again. Outside the viewport, stars burned with ancient light, and in the space between them, guardians maintained their watch. The Ghost of Titan 7 had found her peace. This story explores themes of loss, revenge, redemption, and the choice between justice and vengeance. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't destroying your enemy, it's transforming them into an ally in your cause. What did you think of this emotional journey? The way Elena chose mercy over vengeance. How Kozlov's own loss made him understand her pain. Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more intense sci-fi stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.